Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the OK Grognard Show. It is Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020, 9:30 a.m. Central in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. What a day. Super hot day yesterday. Crazy windy night with some rain last night here in the birthplace of D&D. Today I'm going to continue with a little bit of Laidlawness, working on this village. I used it a lot over Con of Champions a couple of weekends ago. I've been using it for many years, actually, but I've always kept it kind of loose. I had some ideas about it early on that changed. It's a good-sized village for starting campaigns. It's big enough that it can have all of the basic food groups, as it were, all of the things needed to get fledgling adventurers up and running. But it's not so big that they can't be an important part of it. And I think if there's some advice to be had from starting campaigns or for starting campaigns, it's that even though in in some Dungeons and Dragons campaigns, you are meant to start off relatively obscure as an adventurer. Some will even do a sort of a level 0 where you're just a bunch of farmers. I think there's a whole RPG, Torchbearer, based on that. I think Dungeon Crawl Classics, in a sort of a chaotic, crazy way, embraces that starting from nothing mentality. But D&D really starts off when you take that first step out the door, much like when Bilbo decides he's going to sign the contract and chases after the dwarves. What happens before then, the unexpected party, is prelude to him as an adventurer. He gets introduced to the idea of it, but he doesn't actually embrace it until he chases down the dwarves and agrees to be part of their band going to the Lonely Mountain. So too, I think, for me at least, and maybe for others, a first level adventuring party can often be looked upon as taking those first steps. They are getting their grandfather's sword down off the mantle. They're going into the attic and finding the robes and staff of a ancestor, maybe the spell book with those early magic user spells. Maybe they're discovering they have some affinity for casting spells as a cleric of a temple, moving from being a simple layperson into being an acolyte of that deity. Maybe they're figuring out they're a little better than a street urchin when it comes to picking locks or dipping into someone's pocket in a crowded marketplace. But for me, that first level is figuring that stuff out and then attempting to put it into practice. I think what's tricky, a bit of a conceit with starting campaigns, is that you always got all of these people that are all starting off at the same time. They're all green. They're all wet behind the ears. None of them have any experience whatsoever. Now, that may be a great way to start for all of the players if all the players are new, because then they also get to be on the same level, so to speak. They get to be on an equal footing when the campaign or the game starts off, and that's good. But as far as and we never want to use the phrase realistic. It doesn't work, right? In a fantasy when talking about fantasy games. Hey, Red Barn Games popping into the chat. So when you're starting off a campaign, you want to have some sort of training wheels. You want to create an environment in which experimentation is encouraged, where new players through new characters can figure things out without losing a finger every time they pick up a knife. It's tough to do. But, as I say, the Village of Laidlaw is made to a particular size where it is useful enough. You're not constantly being told, nah, they don't have that here. They don't have that here. There's enough there to flesh out, and yet not so big, as I say, that an early adventuring party can't make its mark, have some impact on the setting, such as it is. Now, what happens in Laidlaw may not make any difference to the city-state of Ronk, the seat of the empire. May not have any dealings with Laidlaw whatsoever. They may not know what's going on there. It's a backwater village with no significance to the capital of the empire. But for our little band of starting adventurers, we got something going on, right? I'm going to switch over to this. So I started numbering some of the village this morning, and I thought I'd do that later once I got started, because I had some other things going on. Anyway, I usually like to, for what it's worth, talk about the gates first, right? So those are number 1 and 2. They are, after all, the first thing somebody coming to the village will see. In all likelihood, I guess they could go over the wall. But if they're just traveling on the road, they'll go through some farmland. They'll go through some agriculture around the outside in most cases. Certainly in civilized areas of a medieval fantasy setting. And then they'll come to a gate, and they'll have to deal with some gate guards, or they'll have to deal with some hoodlums who might be nearby and preying on people that are coming to town. Because if you're looking for an easy mark, you're probably going to keep your eye out on the front gate for travelers, people that don't know their way around. And this is, of course, where you'll find them, at the gates. Now, somebody who's preying on travelers might not immediately accost anyone who's coming in the front gate. They may use the gate as a way of scouting, targeting people. So keep that in mind too. If you'd like to set something up for the future in a campaign, even in just a one game session, it doesn't hurt to mention right up front that there is somebody that the player characters can see lurking nearby, eyeballing the gate. Maybe just standing around doing some innocuous work. It can't hurt to have somebody popping up there. Here's something I wanted to pop into. 30 things can happen. So this was a book I created a number of years ago, kind of in honor of the 30-sided die. It had been 30 years since the Armory had put out a book that utilized the 30-sided die tables with 30 entries. 30-sided die was new, and they were looking for a way to sell it, and coming up with a book with a bunch of tables with 30 entries was a good way to do it. The way I divvied this up, well, let me just read this. A brief word before the content, please. With this book, you can use a 30-sided die to generate random events in many environments. Each table is further divided into 3 tailored categories, so you can also use a 10-sided die or a 20-sided die to make use of 1 or 2 of the categories. Additionally, you'll want to have a 6-sided die on hand, as some options even have 3 sub-options. As with all things random, if a result doesn't fit, roll again or choose from those available. Where an option states man or woman, male or female, it need not be human. GMs are encouraged to be flexible when trying to implement a result. So grab some dice and get rolling. I want to say, and I don't have that here, but in essence, this is an homage to that first 30-sided. And being that it had been 30 years, it seemed like a good way to honor that book. So there are... Do I have bookmarks on this one? I forget. No, I do not. That's horrible. Not that I necessarily need them, I suppose, with this particular book. So, table of contents. Well, in a city, we've got a bunch of options. Well, in the country, a bunch of options. Well, underground, a bunch of options. There are indeed 30 pages, 10 in each category. If one were to randomly roll a 30-sided die and come up with a 27, then one would need to go down to nearest stream, 27, 28, 29, 30. On page 29, nearest stream, while underground, nearest stream. We've got 30 entries here. We roll a 10. A large stone cube jutting from the center of a stream diverts the water to flow around it. So there you go. If you are in an underground area near a stream. This 30-sided table can help you out a great deal. 16. A mossy substance covers the stones in this area, and if anyone walks upon it near the water, it undulates in a manner that will likely cause someone to fall into the stream where this huge moss creature's maw is submerged and feeding. So the mossy substance is actually part of a larger creature. Fun, fun, fun. Look at number 30. A humanoid with gills emerges from the water and waves everyone closer. What will happen there? But the reason I opened this up was because the first page is actually, well, in the city at the gate. Now, it's hard to call a village a city. It's much smaller. Nevertheless, one could roll a 30-sider. If one wants to randomize adventure, roll a 5. A guard nods to you, but something seems strange about him because... And then we roll a 6-sider. I rolled a 2. Guard nods to you, but something seems strange about him because he isn't nodding to anyone else. 3-4, his uniform doesn't fit him. 5-6, his sword scabbard is empty. So any one of those can portend any number of logical reasons why. Sword scabbard is empty. Forgot his sword? He's low on money. He's a gambler and he's lost a lot of money and he sold his sword to pay off some debts. Somebody stole it and he just hasn't noticed yet. Why is his scabbard empty? His uniform doesn't fit him? Did he just get it? Is he a growing young man and it was purchased for him to grow into? Is it someone else's? Did he accidentally go in the wrong locker? Put on someone else's uniform? Is it stolen? Is he an imposter? Is he not a real guard? He isn't nodding to anyone else. A guard nods to you, but something seems strange about him because he isn't nodding to anyone else. Does he think you're someone he knows? Did he just notice you looking at him? Is it innocuous? Is it just random chance? Does he just nod to every fifth person? Did he get caught eyeballing you? And now he's nodding so as to let you know that whatever mental test or judgment he was making, you've passed. You're good to go. Could be any number of reasons, as I say. Well, this is the idea behind. Now you could write this stuff in as part of a setting book, but I don't think you want to. This is stuff that happens in the moment. This is stuff that is better during gameplay. However, while you're actually creating a setting, a location, detailing it, such as what we're doing with the Village of Laidlaw, it doesn't hurt to allow your mind to wander a little bit. Maybe to pull out a book of random happenings, happenstance, weird, strange, or just mundane things that can happen at a gate so as to spark your imagination while you're creating this setting, while you're putting some stamp of your own on it, because any kind of input, whatsoever can lead to some sort of inspiration. So, you know, if you're just putting numbers on and throwing names on and putting down what the business is, that's, it gets you there. It gets you there in a utilitarian sort of way. So, looking at this map, and this is not, mind you, this is not a final map that you would put in a publication. You would do a much cleaner job of, this is just a detail of my parchment style map of Laidlaw, which would be like a player's handout. You'd put this into a publication and you'd do a better job of numbering it in such a way. But this is a worksheet. So we're using this to just get that down. Now, where do I want to number? Here's a good question. Let's do that first. Let's, here, we'll use the dropper tool because it's easy to see. So we started off with the gates and the main keep, kind of the seat of power. Something about describing those areas first. I see this first. If I come from this direction, I see this first. If I come from that direction, everything in the town is influenced by number 3. Who's in charge or not in charge, but purports to be in charge. So these are details that you want early on when putting down details for a setting, for a village, for a place. Love this book. I have it. Oh, you have it. Thank you, Red Barn. These could be either plot seeds or little red herrings. It's true. Every one of those entries is meant to spur the imagination for yourself or for the players. It doesn't mean it has to be true. They can certainly believe that the guard has a loose-fitting, oversized uniform because they're not a real guard. They may find out later that it's his older brother's uniform that he inherited when his older brother went off to war, and he took over, got his job because they trusted his brother, and now they trust him, and they needed another body, and what the heck? It's easy enough to add that person in as a guard because he's already got a uniform from his brother, right? One second here while I there we go. All right. Let's see. Okay. Just clearing something up over here on the other side. So, we're looking at how to number this. 1, 2 are the gates. 3, the main keep, the political power, ostensibly of the village. Then where do we go? Well, it's easy enough to clean up the outside first, right? So we'll go 4, 5, and 6 around the horn clockwise. This I'm detailing all together. This is a sort of a, I've already decided it's a barn, stable, inn, outside the gate, a little outhouse or a house that's owned by the people that own this, and maybe they have a little general store outside, just some this and that sales that they make for people that are first getting to town. We get them first before they get inside and start buying stuff or spending their money. They're not going to stop at the inn. They're leaving town. They've gone to the market here. They're farmers from the outlying village, and they're on their way out. And hey, did you remember to pick up that set of stirrups you were gonna? Oh, no. Here, let me grab those here. How about another bridle? Looks like that one's getting kind of worn. The tack you're using on that cart. Oh, you've got some extra turnips? Well, I'll take those off your hands for a low amount. So there's a little business, but also this little inn has a number of tight rooms for people that are coming to town but aren't going to stay in town. And a stable outside. Hey, no stables in there. If you got a horse and you want to keep it close to hand, there are a couple of places, but this one's the best. Anywho, we got that going. But that's outside of the town, and then we've got to look to numbering inside. I started here. What I've been calling the Silver Crest Inn. Not a tavern, just an inn. Or not an inn, just a tavern, Silvercrest Tavern. There are no rooms there. It's a drinking establishment. And that's good. You got to have some places where they have drinking, but not necessarily rooms for let. And that's okay. Silvercrest Tavern is what I called that. And now, once you're inside, do yourself a favor, number it in a way that makes it easy to follow, right? So I'm going to pop that one. It's right across. I'll get that one next, this, and then I'll go around the horn. And I'll work my way around the streets. And I'll get back over to there. And then I'll cross over. Right? And what's the easiest way? Go there. Probably go there. Go around this way. And wind up here. We're going to put a number on this for sure, because this is going to be a square or an area where merchants will set up tables that come in from out of town, or put a wagon up, a couple of wagons up underneath there. They'll do some of that down here too, right? Bring their goods in from out of town. Farm food from the farms. Maybe some crafts they might bring along with them. And there's another thing. When you're creating a village like this and you're setting up a market, so to speak, don't get locked into the idea that people only do one thing. There are going to be plenty of situations where it's useful to have people that wear multiple hats. Stonecutter can build a wall. Does he need to be able to be a great stonecutter? Nah, he doesn't need that. Troll Lords Games is now hosting you. Oh, very kind of him. Very kind. That's probably Steve set that up, or maybe one of the other fine people at Troll Lord Games. Nice of him to host me. Thank you. Thank you so much. Is this Steve, or who is this wearing the Troll Lord Games hat? Chuck. Oh, thank you so much, Chuck. I appreciate that. Hosting me. Steve is a great guy. And Chuck's a great guy too, for sure. The village then can have each individual serve many purposes, right? So you've got somebody that builds a wall, but you're in a village. It's a small village. You don't have, say, a statuary. You don't have a hall of statues. You don't have somebody who actually can spend full time making statues. But the guy that can build the wall, there's no reason to say that he can't be a amateur sculptor after a fashion. He might not be able to make some great work of art that would command the highest value in the largest city in the land, or maybe he is. Maybe this one guy whose talents are wasted building walls turns out that he's the best sculptor in the kingdom. Now, you may want to be careful, put you on the auto host. Oh, thank you very much. You want to be careful not to make every person in the town some sort of a undiscovered masterwork artist. You don't want everybody, or maybe that's an interesting idea for an adventure. Is you go to a town where everybody has some hidden expertise that puts them head and shoulders above anybody else in the kingdom. It would be interesting, but when you make adventures like that, you're kind of undercutting your own campaign. You can make it tough to follow up, because then what happens when you've got a need for something like that somewhere else? Or what happens when these adventurers go to the next town over and they start talking about how everybody in that town, I tell you, best sculptor ever. I saw a guy who paints perfect portraits. There's a prose writer over there who, I don't know why they're there and not in the main city. So it would kind of lead you to believe. There you go. Thank you, Red Barn. That'd be nice to add us when you get a chance. Yeah, I got a bunch of people. I think Troll Lords is toward the top of my list. I've got a few miniatures painting artists on my auto host lists. I've got who else? I think I've got Lord Kasumba on there, and I've got Hobbs, and I've got I put about 10 people on there, and then when I'm on, what does it do? It looks down the list and it takes whoever's at the top, or I think you can set it to randomly take. So it's kind of set up. I don't know, whatever ways they can. It's just nice they have a way that your channel can be useful to people with other friends' channels and channels of things that you personally find interesting, because it helps to I don't know, not just associate yourself with the other things you like, but to be able to give those people a wider audience too. Just really nice. Anywho, looking at the clock, I think we've batted this around. I'm a little over my half hour, but I want to thank everybody who popped by the stream chat. Troll Lord Games, I've already got Red Barn and Lost Nomad on the list. We'll add you to our list too, and I will reiterate that every week we do a little giveaway, and in conjunction with that giveaway, or how we do the giveaway, is that if you're a follower of the channel and you chime in the stream chat at some point during a live broadcast, you're automatically added to the giveaway list. And for this week, next Monday when we do the drawing, there will be a DVD copy of The 13th Warrior, which I found I had an extra one of laying around, so it became part of the prizes. Red Barn Games, I'm running tonight, session 0. Stop by and say hi. I will if I oh wait, tonight. No, it's possible. Yeah, it's Wednesday night, right? Yeah, cool. And we'll try to keep coming around. Good to have you an early show. Yeah, no doubt. It's a 9:30 a.m. show. It'll work for me because when the game store reopens, 7:30 p.m. your time. Central Time, 7:30 for your session 0. Gotcha. Okay, cool. And then, let me see. You know what I should do? It just set a quick alarm for 7:15. Red Barn Twitch. There we go. That should work. Did I do that right? I think I did. Save it. Yep. Nope, that's not right. 7:30 a.m. p.m. That's what we want. Alrighty. Anyway, Red Barn Session 0 streaming 7:30 tonight Central Time. For those of you who are catching this today on YouTube, it is, of course, Wednesday, June 3rd, 9:30 a.m. Central was the starting time for this show. Beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. We've been talking about Laidlaw and setting up a small village. We'll continue with that talk next week. And by the schedule for the rest of this week, tomorrow, crafting and painting. We're still working on those catapults. Building virtual tabletop adventures on Friday. On Saturday, we'll be doing a DM perspective of another cartoon. They give me the all clear on YouTube about the first Conan episode. They do understand that it's a review. They understand I don't do the sound, so it's up. And we'll be doing the second episode this Saturday. Rules retrospective on Sunday. We're continuing with David M. Prada's 2006 version 2.2 Initiative and Combat for Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, and that's a first edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. His sources only go up to 1986, so he keeps it there, although he does use some outside beyond core sources like Unearthed Arcana and the Wilderness Survival Guide and Dragon Magazine articles and such, where he needs those for clarification. Next Monday, the weekly news and, of course, giveaway for this week, 13th Warrior. Cartography and world building next Tuesday, and then round robin back to the Village of Laidlaw campaign discussion, Grimwald. And thank everyone again. Baboonski, look at you. Thanks for stopping in. Thanks to everyone who came by the Twitch channel. There we go. Yeah, your personal channel. Okay, we'll put you in as, we want to put you in right as your own name anyway for the drawing, Chuck. So we will add you in. We'll take Troll Lord's name off. We'll just put you in under your own name, because that way you can win since you're the one who's coming. Right on. And let's see. We already got Lost Nomad in there. And Red Barns. Yep, we got everybody. Good. If you're checking this out on YouTube, please do subscribe. And give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down or a comment. All feedback is welcome. Thank you very much. Thanks to everybody. Enjoy the day. I hope it clears up a little bit around here and gets a little nicer. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we will catch you next time on the OK Grognard Show. Bye-bye.